All right. So what do you think happens when you die?
When you die, I think that it's all really in your mind, and death can be what you want it to be. Like, you can go anywhere. Like, if death can be your own experience, like if you have people that you love and care for, that will be heaven for you, being with them forever, you know, and just enjoying that.
So you think that you will continue to exist in some sort of blessed state or state of happiness?
Or you reincarnation, you basically just wait until it's your time to come back to life.
And then you come back to life as a
person. I think the human, like, Earth is like, and humans, they're just too complex for you just to be dead after it's your time to be here on Earth. There has to be more to it, you know. I don't know exactly what is after, but it has to be something else.
So would it depend on whether or not you lived a life that was worthy or that had a quality of goodness or anything like that?
I think that's when you will have a second chance to come back to life, is if you actually did some good for the world. We're alive.
What do you think happens to the people who don't live in accordance to what they know is supposedly to be good?
I think that when it really came down to it, they would be good people.
I'm sorry?
Everyone's a good person. It's just you need to find that good person in you.
Are murderers good people?
No.
Okay, so what would happen to someone who's like a murderer?
I don't know.
You don't think they would have to pay for what they've done when they die?
I think their dues will be paid according to when they are able to be reincarnated. They'll have to basically wait and learn what's right and what's wrong, and when they truly do learn that, that's when they will be.
Okay, well, can we agree that murder's wrong?
Murder is wrong.
What if somebody murdered someone in your family? A brother? Do you have a brother or sister? Okay, what if somebody murdered your brother or sister? Would you say that it would be? Would it be in keeping with a sense of fairness if they just came back and had to relearn a lesson in life's process that you shouldn't kill people, especially people that you love?
Oh yeah. I don't know. They would definitely have to learn a lesson where it's not easy.
Do you believe that there's a God?
I think there's a higher being that created.
Does that higher being care about what's right and what's wrong?
I actually have an interesting concept of what I think God did. God did create us at one time, but he moved on to the right. He created the sun, he created Earth, he created us. He knew we were going to make mistakes. He knew we were going to fail. He moved on to try new things. He moved to the right. That's why that way, with all the planets after all that, he kept creating and tried new things. And maybe one day he'll come back. But
does God care about what you do?
I don't think he honestly knows what I'm doing right now. I don't think he honestly knows what everyone's doing right now.
Why are his eyes closed?
Because he moved on and tried perfecting us.
So he doesn't know what's going on?
Probably not.
What if he did know what you were doing? Would you think he would think that what you're doing is okay? Like, are you a good person? Do you do good? Do you try to do good?
I try doing good things, but I sin, and he probably would. There's been times where he wouldn't like what I was doing.
Like, what kinds of things would you say are sin?
Crime.
You commit crime? I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about in general. What if you have like vandalism, broke windows, or?
When I was younger, I broke some windows and.
Did you take anything out of the car?
No.
Just. Okay. All right. So vandalism.
Yeah.
Destroying other people's property.
Destroying what's not yours.
Okay. In a form, if you destroyed it, they have to get payment made for fixing it, so you cause them monetary damage. So would that sort of be like a type of stealing?
Yeah.
So you've stolen something in your life?
Yeah.
What have you stolen? Can you remember anything else?
No.
Nothing else. Okay. Like you never took a CD or a tape or that's okay. All right.
I probably have.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Maybe. You might have. Okay. So, what are people called who do take things or destroy other people's property? Because I think that's a good illustration. Thieves. So, what would that make you?
A thief.
And you don't think that God cares about right and wrong?
If he was here, he would.
Isn't it convenient that the God that you think that exists sort of conveniently disappears when it comes to the fact, or when it comes to the matter of what you've done in your life? I mean,
Just me as a person, he knew humans in a whole weren't going to succeed. They weren't going to do right.
I agree with you.
He moved on. He knew.
So you do acknowledge that the things that you've done are called are as disobedience to what God says. You know that God said you shall not steal,
We shouldn't steal.
and you've broken that you've not been obedient to that, right? So if God were to judge you based, now I know you think that he doesn't see, you're hoping, right?
I'm not.
Believe it's possible that he didn't. Is it possible he does see?
Could be.
If he does see and he judges you based on what you know is wrong, which is stealing, if you should have to stand before him on a judgment day, would you be guilty or innocent?
I'd be guilty, but if he created me and he really knew how I felt about that, and he knew that I knew that was wrong, and that he knew that I wouldn't do that again, I think he would, take that into consideration if he really cared about every single one of us.
Okay, I want to take you for a minute to a change of imagine for a minute, if you will, that you're in a courtroom, okay, and there's been the evidence that's been against you has been presented, and now it's time for the judge to decide the sentence, okay? And you acknowledge that you're guilty. You know that you're guilty. In fact, you know that you deserve punishment, right? And the judge says, okay, why should I forgive you? Or why should I let you not have to have your sentence passed on you?
My sentence wouldn't pass on me. Like, I know in the future, if it comes, I will have to pay some dues. That's my mistake.
But you don't think that dues are going to be anything other than you're going to actually get to live again and try again and do better next time?
Depends how long I got to learn that lesson for. I necessarily don't even have to come back to life. If what I did was so morally wrong, then I don't deserve to come back to life. I don't deserve life. If I took someone else's life, I don't deserve life myself.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're talking about your perspective that you're going to come back, or you believe that people come back, but you don't really know because no one has actually come back.
But I know because look around the world and look at trees and look at what we've created, what humanity has created. Look at roads, look at cars, and you'll see that whoever created us knew what they were doing. They knew that we were complex. They knew that we could do some good, but not all good.
Okay, let's go back to my example here. If they're in the courtroom, and you said yourself that you're going to be guilty and you're going to have to pay for the crime, right? You're going to have to pay for the crime. What do you think that payment's going to be?
Not having life.
Okay, death. Would you agree that your payment, the penalty is death? Okay. How does that make you feel?
It's sad.
Sad? Yeah. And what's also sad is that you feel that maybe you didn't live up to what you were meant to be, right? I mean, and also, do you get a sense that God is grieved at all about the fact that He created you, like you said, the trees, He made the flowers, He made the beautiful sky, and you're the crowning creation, according to God, of everything that He made. He made man. When He made man, He said, wow, it is good.
It is, yeah.
But we've done things that obviously aren't good. Would you agree?
Yeah. God gave us the decision. God didn't let us. He didn't control us. He thought that we were smart enough to know what was right and to live by what He said was right. but he gave us free will, and that's where we went wrong.
So, do you think God is unjust or that he's not fair if he were to say, I am going to carry out the sentence and you're going to have to pay with your life? Would that be fair? Would you think that that's fair?
I guess.
It's a bummer though, right?
Yeah.
What if there was something that could be done in terms of having that not be what actually happens to you? Like, in other words, if
Deserve it.
yeah, you do deserve it.
People that have taken others' lives deserve to die.
I agree with you, and I think that it's admirable that you feel like people should pay the consequence for what they've done. Because okay, now, being that you are guilty, and that when you stand before God, who's righteous and holy, and He will say that you're guilty, and will decide that your penalty should be carried out. Would you say, in light of that you can see your need for God's mercy?
Yeah.
Okay. What if there was a way that he would extend mercy to you? Would you be interested in knowing about what that would entail?
Depends on what it was.
Fair enough. What if it meant that you had someone else take your place and die, okay, for your sins? You wouldn't want that? Why not?
Because I deserve it.
Okay, but that's what grace is. Grace is something that we get or something that we don't get that we deserve. That's mercy. That's God's mercy.
Take my place for what I did that was wrong.
What if there was an exchange that you now were... See, this is what I believe, okay? The Bible says that whoever commits sin is a slave to sin, and that you're not going to live, the slave does not live or abide in the house forever. There's going to come a time to make accounts, okay? But there is one person who God says is going to abide forever. That one person is Jesus, his son, okay? Jesus, his son, has said, I will be willing to lay down my life. No one takes it from me. It's not coerced. It's not forced. He did it out of wanting to do God's will, because God didn't want to have to extinguish the lives that he created, but he also did it because he loves you, and he's offering to you a hand that if you're willing to take it, that he will bring you out of death, out of slavery, which is what sin brings you into, and set you free. But you have to want to be free. It's not just a matter of, do you want to be forgiven or do you want to have mercy? He wants you to really be free. In other words, turn from a life of sin. So you have a part to play in it. It's not just that this person's going to die for you and you're not now accountable. You're accountable now, that if you make this exchange, you got to go into it understanding that now your life is no longer your own. Because if somebody takes your penalty for you and takes your punishment, don't you think you owe them something? Okay. Well, I want to tell you tonight, somebody took your penalty. Someone took your punishment. Jesus laid down his life for you if you would willingly accept him being the Lord of your life and you no longer living for yourself. If you would change your mind about who God is and realize that he loves you, realize that he wants a future for you that is going to be glorious. It's going to be not heaven, not something that you can't see, but he wants you to live in a resurrected body forever here on earth. But you also need to understand that everything that you see, that basically this whole world is against God. The Bible says that this world is based on the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And all that is of this world is not of the Father. Anyone who loves this world, it says the love of the Father is not in him. God's love is not in him if they love sin and they love the system of unrighteousness that this world currently is in. So a change of mind is actually a change of how you perceive the world. God wants you to perceive it in accordance with what Jesus says the world should be. Now this takes a little thinking, and I can tell that you're a thinking man.
Thinking.
Okay. This is all revealed. This is all revealed in a place called the Scriptures, especially the Gospel. The Gospels are what Jesus intends to bring, what God intends to bring this earth to be through Jesus. Now, God raised Jesus from the dead. Okay, do you believe that?
Yes and no.
Why no?
Because I don't know Jesus. I think he was a prophet and he was making an example. I don't know.
I agree with you.
I don't know if he was directly. I don't know if he was a superhuman. I don't know if he had special powers, but he was getting a message across.
God bless you. That's beyond your years and wisdom. I really feel that came from your heart, and I appreciate that. I agree with you. I don't think he was superhuman either. And Jesus himself said that he could do nothing without the Father. He said, everything that you see me do, and he did some amazing things. He healed the sick. He cleansed lepers. He raised the dead. You know why he said he did those things? He said, I'm doing the works that the Father gave me to do so that they would know that I have come from God. He did not claim to be God. He claimed to be the representative of God, which is exactly what you said. Now, as the representative of God, as also being a human being, he could be a representative for you. And I'm sorry, I don't even know your name. I should have asked you your name.
Joe.
Joe? I'm Nathan. Joe, he's willing, as a man, to say, you're right. God did create this for something else. He created us not to be extinguished and to not have life and to be dead. He created us to not live in slavery and be enslaved to Satan, who is the God of this world. We don't have to worship Jesus as God. We have to give him the due respect as God's son and as the one who's going to be the king of this world one day. We have to give him, as we would give our allegiance even more than to a president that's unrighteous and that, is lies.
President.
Okay? And that lies, and I'm not talking about just our president, I'm talking about all men who've ever held positions of power have been unrighteous because they've lied, they've stolen, they've done everything that we've done as men. But Jesus is different. Jesus has the purity of God, and he's in God's image, though he's not God himself. But he is a man who can be acceptable to God as for all mankind. Okay? He can represent all mankind and bring us back to God. Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no man comes to the Father but by me. No person, no one comes to the Father. Do you see your need for God in terms of what we were talking about before, when you stand before that courtroom in God's court and you're going to be found guilty and sentence is going to be passed? You don't want that sentence to be passed on you and that you die, do you? But you do see that God is fair in doing that.
Yeah.
Now, as I said, Jesus will allow you not to get off scot-free and to just get a free ticket into heaven, because that's not what I'm talking about. We got to retrain our minds the way Jesus wants us to think. He wants us to think in terms of the righteous, that he has the meek inheriting the earth. Now, would you be willing to look into these things? And as God said, Jesus said this. He said, this is how you'll know that what I'm saying is true, that what Jesus said is true. He gave us a test. He says, if anyone wants to know if what I say is true or if I'm of God, he said, let them get my words and start obeying them, start practicing them, and they'll know the truth. That's the way that you can tell and that you can know if you really want to find out if Jesus is the Messiah, if he did get raised from the dead, as you start obeying him, because he's alive right now. He's been raised to the right hand of power, and he's going to come in the clouds in great power and great glory to destroy all of the enemies who don't accept his sacrifice for them, but then also his resurrection and his lordship over their life. Now you have a choice, and I want to give you that choice and just let you know you have to take the choice and make it yourself. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to make that choice and think about it sometime more in the future?
Maybe.
I don't want you to put it off. because you're young, but you don't know when your time is up. It can be any time. And once your time is up, you don't get another chance. God says, today is the day of salvation. Now, while the time is here, choose this day. He doesn't want you to put this off until you get worse and worse and worse, until pretty soon it's too late. So I'm glad that you will consider this, and I really, really appreciate your time. I'm going to give you, turn this off now, and I'm just going to give you my contact information. If you ever want to ask me a question or get in contact with me, I'd be glad to talk to you.
Learn that's when it will be.
Okay, well, can we agree that murder's wrong?
Murder is wrong.
What if somebody murdered someone in your family, a brother? Do you have a brother or sister? Okay, what if somebody murdered your brother or sister? Would you say that it would be, would it be in keeping with a sense of fairness if they just came back and had to relearn a lesson in life's process that you shouldn't kill people? Especially people that you love?
Yeah. I don't know. They would definitely have to learn a lesson where it's not easy.
Do you believe that there's a God?
I think there's a higher being that created.
Does that higher being care about what's right and what's wrong?
I actually have an interesting concept of what I think God did. God did create us at one time, but he moved on to the right. He created the sun, he created earth, he created us. He knew we were going to make mistakes. He knew we were going to fail. He moved on to try new things. He moved to the right. That's why that way, with all the planets after all that, he kept creating and tried new things. And maybe one day he'll come back. But
does God care about what you do?
I don't think he honestly knows what I'm doing right now. I don't think he honestly knows what everyone's doing right now.
Why are his eyes closed?
Because he moved on and tried perfecting us.
So he doesn't know what's going on?
Probably not.
In accordance to what they know is supposedly to be good.
I think that when it really came down to it, they would be good people.
I'm sorry?
Everyone's a good person. It's just you need to find that good person in you.
Are murderers good people?
No.
Okay, so what would happen to someone who's like a murderer?
I don't know.
You don't think they would have to pay for what they've done when they die?
I think their dues would be paid according to when they are able to be reincarnated. When they'll have to basically wait and learn what's right and what's wrong, and when they truly do a person. I think the human Earth is and humans, they're just too complex for you just to be dead after it's your time to be here on Earth. There has to be more to it, you know. I don't know exactly what is after, but it has to be something else.
So would it depend on whether or not you lived a life that was worthy or that had a quality of goodness or anything like that?
I think that's when you will have a second chance to come back to life, is if you actually did some good for the world. We're alive.
What do you think happens to the people who don't live in all right. So what do you think happens when you die?
When you die, I think that it's all really in your mind, and death can be what you want it to be. Like, you can go anywhere. Like, if death can be your own experience, like if you have people that you love and care for, that will be heaven for you, being with them forever, you know, and just enjoying that.
So you think that you will continue to exist in some sort of blessed state or state of happiness?
Or you reincarnation, you basically just wait until it's your time to come back to life.
And then you come back to life as